and anxiety to have people on the ground who were pillars of the community, who were there to support people in distress. I think that kind of support is essential. Now, of course, we all have a lot of questions about what happened. Now, the investigation is in the hands of the Bureau des Enquêtes Indépendantes, and that will take some time. But I think what is important today is to talk about what comes next. Yesterday's adrenaline and people's anxiety, well, people may be feeling that they're afraid to go out into the street, that they can't work, and it's important to say that help is there. Stephanie said that please call 811, option 2, if you need support. People will be there to help. And at the center where we went to visit, people did not go into work today, and I think people have to see that Montreal is united in mourning the people we've lost, united in supporting the community, so that people once again have a sense of security here in Montreal. Even though we realize that that tragic, unique event occurred yesterday, Montreal is a safe country, and we want to ensure that it remains safe, and people can be confident living in this city. I just want to close by talking about the police community, the Montreal police that is mourning right now. They secured the perimeter where the tragedy occurred. Now imagine having to do that when they've lost one of their colleagues. So go and talk to them and thank them. Thank them for their service. What happened yesterday was terrible.
Du Canada, de l'extérieur du Canada, cette histoire va faire le tour du monde, et je pense que les gens y vivent ce deuil avec nous.
I received messages and condolences from all over the country, and you cannot feel happy in a city where you feel you could be shot at any time. What happened yesterday should never happen, and we are so grateful to have a police department that is here to protect the citizens.
Just a few words in
Thank
English.
you.
So good morning, welcome to Côte-des-Neiges. I wish we were welcoming you under very different circumstances. I am standing in front of you all today with the Mayor of Montreal, but as well with my colleagues of the Borough Council of Côte-des-Neiges and my colleagues from the federal level and the provincial level, Mr. Anthony Housefather and Ms. Elizabeth Prass. I'm speaking with you all today with a very heavy heart. What we've lived in the last 24 hours, I don't wish it on anyone. I think that everyone can agree with me today that what we just lived in Côte-des-Neiges and DG was a complete nightmare. It was a tragedy that we're going to be living with for the next few months for sure as a community. In Côte-des-Neiges and DG, anybody that knows our borough, they know that we are a borough that is dynamic, that is vibrant, that is welcoming. You know, we have 75% of our population is from immigrant background. We are just a community that we are so proud of. And we really lived the loss today, yesterday and today and for the next few days. And so I want to wish to Mohamed Lamine Ben Redouane, to his family, to his friends, to his loved ones, anyone that was touched by his life, we are so sorry. We want to send our condolences to everyone, his colleagues at the SPVM, at the PDQ locally here. I don't even know how to say when you have someone that grew up in the neighborhood, decided to serve his community in a way that he did by ultimately losing his life. It was an act of heroism that I can't highlight further. And I just want his family and his loved ones to know that we are with them and we mourn with them. To the officer that was injured as well, I wish you a speedy recovery, and I thank you for your work on the ground. To the citizen who was tragically who has tragically lost his life. I offer my deepest sympathies to him, his family, everyone that loves him, and to his community. Please know that we are with you during this very difficult time. To the citizens of Côte-des-Neiges and DG who witnessed the horrifying scenes yesterday, from far or from close, to everyone who struggled to sleep last night, please know that we are with you, that we cried with you last night. And I hope that for those that can, that you hold the ones you love so close to you. The Borough of Côte-des-Neiges and DG stands in support with you. If you need anyone to talk to, if there are resources that you are looking for, please know that they exist and they are available to you. Call 811 option 2 and you will have someone at the end of the line at all times of the day to support you in whatever you need. I also want to express my deepest gratitude to our first responders, the police officers, paramedics, and firefighters who intervened at the scene. A special mention for the Commandant Mathieu Fournier-Landry. He's heading right now the PDQ 26, which is our local PDQ. Him and his teams worked tirelessly yesterday to ensure the safety of our residents and of our community, and for that, we are so grateful. Although the situation is now over, I know that the psychological wounds will take time to heal. Over the coming days, we will work in close collaboration with community organizations on the ground and our healthcare network. I will personally ensure that all support resources are at your disposal and easily accessible, and we will also remain in constant communication with the local PDQ as the investigation continues. In Côte-des-Neiges, Notre-Dame-de-Grâce, we are united, we are proud, and we are a supportive community. The strength of our borough lies in our resilience. And let me tell you, we are a resilient community. Sometimes too resilient that we see things happen often and time again in our borough. In the face of this terrible act of violence, we will support one another. We will be there for one another like we've always been, because we are a strong community, we are a proud community, and we will continue the work that we do here for our communities. Thank you so much.
Sure, I can just a few words. I just want to thank all the first responders. I actually gave my condolences to a few police officers that were actually holding the perimeter this morning, and you can feel the pain. And I think it's important that all Montrealers are behind what happened yesterday and give our words of thoughts to the family, to the lost ones, and to the community of Côte-des-Neiges and DG that will need help to get over this strategy. Yesterday, people were in the mode of survival. Of course, you don't feel that pain, but you feel it today. Some people didn't show up at work this morning because they are scared, and we need to be there for all Montrealers to know and remember that this, even though we had a tragic event yesterday, Montreal, they can feel safe in the city, and that's our main objective, is making sure that people will feel safe and are safe. And that's what we're going to do in the next few weeks, working with the borough and meeting with community and leaders of community to make sure that people get what they need to get through this ordeal. Thank you.
Merci. Donc, on va passer une couple de questions sur le sujet du jour. Bien évidemment, on ne peut pas commenter l'enquête en cours, donc juste nommer votre nom média.
Il y avait elle après.
Lila,
pour nous voir, est-ce que vous avez pu rencontrer la famille de la victime du quartier, Madame
Oui, merci pour la question. En fait, j'ai pas encore eu l'opportunité de parler directement avec les membres
of the famille. However, I did have some conversations this morning with several members of the community who knew him well and who have been in contact with the family. So that's the situation as it stands now, but we will be in communication with them. Yes, of course. As soon as we have a chance to do so, we will will contact the family, and of course, all those people who were affected. And of course, we will be attending the funerals as well. So even the BEI has not yet confirmed the name of the victim, even though that information has been on social media. So we're waiting for that information to come forward to contact the families.
Il va y avoir une conversation à avoir sur ces thèmes des parts et qu'on va montrer aussi ce qui est dans tout ça. Et si vous voyez de quoi je parle, est-ce que vous pouvez me dire quelque chose là-dessus?
Bien sûr, je peux pas non plus
Well, of course, I cannot comment on what is circulating right now. That's part of the investigation being led by the BEI. But what I can say, and what I mentioned yesterday, is that even though our city is safe, we have to be aware of the fact that when things are happening on social media, in a world that is far more difficult to control now, and I think it's important to be vigilant in the face of the kind of hate that we see. And actions that are affecting a lot of young people as well as those who are older. So at the police department, they have become very aware of the need for proper cybersecurity. A lot of people are being recruited, young people, and they're not on the street. They're in a different space, which is much harder to control. So that's something we're going to have to be working on with the Montreal police in future. Once again, I'm sure you understand that I cannot confirm or otherwise what you just said. The only answer is that how can someone in 2026 take a gun and go into the street and start shooting people, whether he's from here or somewhere else? We have to fight back against people's ability to own guns and use them in the streets in this manner.
Yes,
just the question of handguns, for example, at the federal level, and Anthony can give his view on this. We have worked very, very hard on gun ownership and what to do about the people who are allowed to have guns, whether you're a hunter or engage in other activities. But we don't believe that there's any room for people to use guns in a city like Montreal. Thank you for the question. During our visit, we saw that there are people on the ground, but talking to residents, we sense their pain. They're still in a state of shock. Some people are afraid to leave home and just to go out and do their normal errands. There are many restaurants and businesses in this area, and this is where people live. And every time they're in the area, they're reliving what happened yesterday. So it's very difficult for the residents. And there are organizations here that are prepared to help. And all we can do is support them and listen.
Oui, en anglais dans ce cas-là.
I can't tell you exactly. I didn't know him personally, but he's 2 years younger than me. He went to school in the neighborhood, and many of my friends, many people in my network knew him personally. So much to the point that this morning when I woke up on my social media, there were flashback pictures of him from high school with close friends and family members. So it's very personal. It hits very close to home, and it's just really devastating.
How surprised are you that something like this has happened here in Montreal?
I'm very surprised. I mean, Montreal, when was the last time we had an event like this? I mean, and at some point, I think Montreal, at some point, it's hit very hard by this because it hits on that sentiment of security and that something can happen in our cities like that. Of course, it will take some time to recover. But again, I want to reassure Montrealers that Montreal is safe and that we need to rely on each other and making sure that we are also, all of us, I wouldn't say responsible, but working together to make sure that our community feels safe and are safe.
What are the biggest questions you have? I know you can't comment on the investigation, but what do you want to know?
I would say how can we prevent something like this? People sometimes were desperate. They find a way to say it somehow. And so my question would be, how can we do better in the future to prevent something like this? And what are those, where do we look at? Where do we look to make sure that we are making sure that we catch this before it happens?
French a little bit about the ideology that seems to be, of course, it's part of the investigation, but that seems to be in the background of this particular cell of the manifesto. And I'm wondering about what are your thoughts on how society, what can be done? How do you start a conversation? We had this conversation in Montreal in the past.
Yeah.
How do you start a conversation?
Well, I think media has changed. The way that people talk to each other has changed. If you look at social media today, how can people think it's okay to talk about people in a way that you wouldn't say it in person? So I think we have to work on making sure that our city and our people in our community feel safe, not only in the public space, but also on our social media. When you see recruitment of young people through social media, it is very concerning. So, and when you see recruitment, it's not only recruitment in terms of doing something criminal, but it's also on the ideology behind social media. So I think there has to be a way that we work more together around making sure that those conversations that are happening in social media, we can actually address them and also fight against those conversations that are not very positive to all communities. I'll give you an example. Yesterday, we saw many images in social media about what was happening, and very graphic. How can we accept that? It desensitizes, ça enlève la sensibilité. Thank you.
Desensitizes.
Right? We can't accept that. As a society, we need to be respectful and make sure that we're also prevailing around the dignity of the police officer that we saw yesterday and the family that had to actually see those images. So I think social media and that digital space will be one of the biggest challenges we have for the future to make sure that our cities and our communities are safe and that we're preserving a good conversation, a positive conversation that sometimes just derails in social media.
On va prendre une dernière question en anglais.
C'est partie de la façon de prévenir ça, c'est de réglementer les médias sociaux.
Ben écoutez, la question qu'on doit se poser, vous savez, dans une autre vie, j'étais au fédéral.
In another life, I was at the federal level, and certainly regulations on digital platforms is a real problem. Trying to regulate a company that is not Canadian that's in that space is very difficult. And what we saw on the digital platforms yesterday should normally have been stopped. But how can you control the digital space?
N'est pas positif.
And control what isn't positive that we see there, because legislation on digital platforms is complicated.
What a difficult day and difficult days to come. The grief, I know how hard it will be for the family, but I want to tell them that there's a whole community there to support the family and support it in whatever they need. I hope they feel that they can be proud. Somebody that, was there, didn't think twice about protecting Montrealers. And we can say thank you.
Parfait, merci. OK, une dernière, là, Jessie, mais après ça va être fini.
Are we to understand that you're making a call for a stricter gun control in Canada?
I mean, absolutely. I think even people from that live through Polytechnique will tell you that I think we can go further. And I know it's difficult because guns sometimes are not only, or in many areas, are for hunting, for indigenous communities. But in a city like Montreal, we need to have a better control on what's happening in the streets in terms of gun control. And I'm sure that our federal government is something that we can talk about and see how can we better, work on getting our cities more safe, especially on getting access to these guns. Any other questions? Sure.
One of the civilians who was killed was part of the Jewish community, and it also occurred in Central Jewish Borough in Montreal. Do you have any comments to reassure Jewish people?
Unfortunately, I can't comment on something that has not been confirmed by the Bureau of Investigation, the independent bureau, the BOE, even though the name has been made public through the media. Until I can have that confirmation from Le Bureau d'Enquête, we'll be contacting his family and the communities. For now, unfortunately, I can't comment on the name. Unfortunately, I will have to say that a loss of a life from any community is a loss too many.
The manifesto that's circulating spews a lot of hatred towards women. Do you have any reaction to that?
Again, I can't comment on the manifest, but what I would comment is that what I've seen in social media is unacceptable. What I've seen even in my own social media, and social media for many women that are in politics has been awful. And I think, there has to be a way to protect, even on the speech and the way we talk about women, to make sure that women feel protected.
On doit vraiment y aller. Merci.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So we have been listening into Montreal's mayor and the representative for the borough of Côte-des-Neiges, where that tragic shooting took place yesterday. We know that a civilian and police officer were killed. Pardon me. Constable Mohammed Lamin Ben Redwan and civilian Michel Mizrahi, a beloved member of the Jewish community. Another officer was also injured. So we just heard from those officials. They were speaking, as they said, with heavy hearts. Both were quite emotional, describing what they called the horrifying scene that unfolded yesterday. We know police were called after a witness saw a gun sticking out of a window. One suspect was involved in the shooting and was killed. At least 29 gunshots were heard, and a video